All right, everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. And today we're looking into something that's,
Pretty intriguing.
yeah, a little bit eerie, I'd say.
Yeah.
We're talking about those Simpsons predictions. You know how they always seem to
Hit the nail on the head.
hit the nail on the head.
Like it's spooky sometimes.
It's spooky sometimes.
Yeah.
So there's this buzz going around about a potential energy crisis. And apparently there's an episode, maybe even two, that hint at this. One from way back in '98 called Springfield's Last Day, where the town, you guessed it, loses power. And a more recent one that suggests that we might be running out of juice after, wait for it, February 28th, 2025.
Yeah. Talk about a coincidence.
Which is literally tomorrow.
I know, right? Gives you chills, doesn't it?
It really does. But before we get into the cartoon prophecies, there was this real massive power outage in Chile.
Right. And this wasn't just a few neighborhoods. This was like
Yeah, the whole country.
99% of the country, like 8 million people in the dark. A total blackout. They even declared a state of emergency, curfews in Santiago, the whole 9 yards.
So this was like major disruption.
Major. And it wasn't a storm or anything like that. Just
Really?
Yeah, a series of technical failures. They call it cascading failure, like a domino effect.
Cascading failure.
Yeah. One part of the grid goes down, it overloads another part, then another, and bam, the whole thing collapses.
Okay, that's scary.
It is. Think about it. Everything we rely on just stops. Communication, hospitals, transportation, even water.
Water.
Yeah, the pumps that get water to your house, they need electricity too. So it's not just about the lights going out.
So this was like a huge deal.
Well,
Economic.
absolutely. Banking, finance, mining.
Everything just ground to a halt.
They've-
And I guess it makes you think, like, what if this happened on a even bigger scale, right? Like what the Simpsons might be hinting at.
Exactly. And it's not just those two episodes. The Simpsons has this, I don't know, this knack for predicting things.
Yeah.
The Trump presidency, that FIFA scandal, Lady Gaga's Super Bowl performance, it's kind of freaky how often they get it right.
Okay, so let's go back to that 1998 episode, Springfield's Last Day. What exactly happens there?
Well, it starts with Mr. Burns, naturally. He refuses to pay his electric bill, so the power gets cut off to the entire town. And Springfield being Springfield, it descends into utter chaos. People looting, rioting, you name it. It's a pretty bleak picture of what happens when society loses its access to energy.
So kind of a worst case scenario, but it makes you think,
Yeah.
right? Especially considering what happened in Chile.
And then there's the newer episode. It doesn't focus on a blackout, but it does hint that after February 28th, 2025, energy sources start to run dry.
And we all know how accurate they can be, but I mean, come on, it's a cartoon, right?
Of course, we have to take it with a grain of salt. But it's not like these predictions come out of thin air. The writers are clearly plugged into what's happening in the world. Anxieties about climate change, resource depletion, political instability.
So maybe it's less about predicting the future and more about reflecting our anxieties about the present.
Right, like a funhouse mirror. It's exaggerated, but there's a kernel of truth in there somewhere.
So what do we do? I mean, are we really all doomed to live in the dark?
No, not at all. I think the takeaway here is that we can't be complacent. We need to be aware of the vulnerabilities in our own systems.
Okay. Like what?
Well, for one, diversify our energy sources. Chile relied heavily on hydropower, so when they had a drought, they were really vulnerable.
Makes sense. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Yeah.
Exactly. Invest in renewable energy, strengthen our grid infrastructure, improve energy efficiency. These are all things that can make a difference.
So basically, we can't just wait for the lights to go out. We need to be proactive about making our systems more resilient.
Absolutely. And think about it. Remember that blackout you mentioned? It was
Like,
only a few hours, but it brought people together, right?
Yeah, remember, everyone was out on their porches, chatting with their neighbors. It was actually kind of nice.
It was. Because even in a crisis, there's opportunity, a chance to reconnect, to rethink our priorities, to build a more sustainable future.
Okay, so for everyone listening, here's something to chew on. If a cartoon can make us think about energy security, what does that say about our own responsibility? What steps can you take to be more energy conscious? What would you do if the lights went out for good?
Food for thought.
Food for thought, indeed. Thanks for joining us for this
Slightly unsettling.
slightly unsettling but thought-provoking deep dive. Until next time.
See ya.